Remember when Pixar made a movie about ants being enslaved by grasshoppers that secretly doubled as an allegory for class struggle and collective action? Or when they made a movie about monsters scaring kids for energy that was really about fear-driven corporations chasing profit? Yeah, the good old days. Pixar used to take wildly creative concepts and hide genuinely powerful messages inside them. That was the formula. But fast forward to today, it feels like Pixar has completely lost its magic. Hoppers is Disney Pixar's latest installment, and while it's not terrible, it's missing everything that used to make Pixar special. So in this review, I'm going to explain why I think Hoppers is a bad Pixar movie. Hoppers follows a young girl named Mabel, who has always loved animals. She discovers that the forest she used to visit with her grandmother is about to be destroyed, all because the mayor plans to build a highway through it. So she decides to use a new piece of technology called hopping that lets her upload her brain into a robotic beaver. Her plan is to find the missing animals, convince a beaver to return to the glade and build a dam, restore the ecosystem, and stop the mayor's construction project. Now, that premise actually has potential. The problem is how the movie tells the story, because the exposition in this movie is painfully blunt, about as subtle as a brick to the face. And this movie wastes no time giving us a perfect example. The movie literally starts with Mabel telling the animals at her school that she's going to save them. She just straight up announces the entire premise of the movie. No subtlety, no build-up, just immediate exposition, which is absolutely insane for a $150 million Pixar movie. Compare that to the opening of Up, or WALL-E. Pixar used to be incredible at visual storytelling. They actually trusted the audience to figure things out. But when you compare those openings to Hoppers, it's pretty obvious how lazy the writing has become when it comes to delivering exposition. The second reason Hoppers is not a good Pixar movie is because it's not immersive or creative. Pixar used to build worlds that felt completely unique. Think about the animation and character designs from the early 2000s, and compare that creativity to Hoppers. Sully from Monsters, Inc. versus Ellen the Bear. Bruce from Finding Nemo versus Diane the Shark. Edna Mode from The Incredibles versus Mabel. The Hopper from A Bug's Life versus the Insect King. The difference is night and day. The animation style in Hoppers is so bland that it almost feels like Pixar is recycling the same design template for every new movie. And you can see it happening across the recent films. Think of Soul, Elio, Luca, Turning Red. They're pushing these movies out as fast as possible, and the same visual style keeps carrying over. That same problem shows up in the setting too. The world of Hoppers just looks like an animated forest ecosystem. There's no creative twist to it. Compare that to worlds like Radiator Springs, Monstropolis, the ocean, and Finding Nemo. Those places felt imaginative and alive, but the forest in Hoppers feels generic. And the premise has the same problem. Let's play a quick game. Before 2020, excluding sequels, name 2 Pixar movies with the exact same basic premise. Go ahead, I'll give you a minute. Alright, exactly. Now compare that to today. Not only does Hoppers feel very similar to The Wild Robot, it's kind of a copy of Avatar. Wait, no, not that Avatar. The one with the blue people.
Guys, this is like Avatar.
This is nothing like Avatar!
And Pixar has already used the same premise multiple times. Think Luca, Turning Red, and now Hoppers. This is the third Pixar movie in the last 5 years where a human turns into an animal or an animal turns human. Compare that to Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Cars, Monsters, Inc., and Ratatouille, which all released over a 13-year span and were completely original concepts. Pixar used to lead the industry in creativity, but now, it feels like they're just recycling ideas. The third reason why Hoppers doesn't work is that it's very clear the movie is afraid of its own message. Because at the beginning of the movie, it feels like Pixar is setting up a story about environmentalism, showing how humans destroy ecosystems and capitalism's impact on wildlife. But then, something strange happens. After Mabel fails to stop the dam explosion, King George, the Mammal King, calls a council meeting with all the leaders of the animal groups. During that meeting, Mabel accidentally, or maybe intentionally, kills the insect queen after she suggests the animal should simply squish the mayor. Honestly, that was probably one of the most shocking scenes of the entire movie. Literally everybody in my theater had an audible reaction when that happened. It's pretty funny, but that event leads to probably the most questionable direction this movie takes. Right then, the insects and the rest of the animals become the main villains of the movie. And suddenly, the movie isn't about stopping humans from destroying ecosystems anymore. Now, the movie is about preventing the animals from squishing Mayor Jerry and the rest of the humans. Meanwhile, Mayor Jerry, who started the entire environmental problem, randomly does a complete 180. Like seriously, you blink for 1 second and all of a sudden Mayor Jerry becomes a good guy. It happens so fast, it almost gives you whiplash. Pixar sets up a message about environmental destruction and then completely abandons it. And the weirdest part is, the movie accidentally sets up a much better potential twist earlier in the movie. See, when Mabel is initially explaining to King George about how terrible Mayor Jerry is, he has this strange compassion for him, and gives Jerry every excuse possible to justify his actions. King George even claims he helped build a new ecosystem for displaced animals, which would have set up an incredible reveal. What if King George was secretly Mayor Jerry using the Hopper technology to disguise himself as an animal, a human, infiltrating the animal world to manipulate them so he can move forward with his plans of building a new highway? That would have been a great twist. Instead, King George is just a naive bootlicker, and by the end of the movie, the animals end up being the biggest villains, which completely contradicts the entire message the movie was originally setting up. At this point, I think it's safe to say, Pixar has lost its magic. They sacrificed immersive storytelling and powerful messaging for trendy antics. And if Pixar can keep making money from movies that say nothing, why would they ever take risks again? Because right now, Pixar seems terrified of making a movie that actually criticizes exploitative capitalism. And when a studio becomes afraid to step on its own toes, that is when creativity disappears.